Hello and welcome to the Common Geeking Program. We are a book club style.
Yo, Jeff,
podcast.
I'm gonna let you finish. But before that, I gotta say, the Mermaid Sister should have won Mars' brightest side.
Yeah, that's honestly excellent lyrics.
Are you Kanyeing my Swift right now?
Yes.
You're Kanyeing my Swift.
I hate everything about that
shit.
sentence you just said, Jeff.
Well, I hate to have been the victim of it, honestly. So, we are a book club style podcast where each episode we discuss a different topic from our own geeky and nerdy perspectives. That topic, of course, will illuminate some of the shenanigans that we just threw out there. Because Chowder's just dropping names like the Mermaid Sisters before we even...
I mean, that's probably a real band, right?
Yeah, no, not anymore. I am your host, Jeff Leavitt, and this week we are going to be taking a look at the anime series Carole and Tuesday, specifically the first season. And this time around, I'm joined by my two fellow nerds who can introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Taeemul Chowdhury, or Chowder, whichever you prefer.
Hello, I'm Austin. I haven't done this in a while, but this is going to be fun. It's been a busy day. I don't know about you guys.
Just been playing Minecraft.
I cleaned my car.
Pretty busy.
Oh, nice.
You have a car? I forgot you had a car.
Yeah.
I was in an aesthetics conference thing all afternoon, so that's interesting, and kind of
really?
Preparation for what's going on here. It's like a series that one of my old professors is doing with a bunch of people, and this week people presented papers on aesthetics and ethics and stuff, and that was interesting, and I guess it's going to continue throughout the summer.
Like, in relation to each other?
I mean, that's not an uncommon thing in philosophy. You call the whole value theory. It would be the overarching umbrella that includes, among other things, aesthetics and ethics.
Gotcha. Well,
but we're gonna do some of it. What about what we're doing today?
All right. Well, first of all, we're gonna start off by summarizing and discussing our little topic here, and then we'll end off with a good old rating section where we can decide, what our opinions are on the topic, whether it's worthwhile and enjoyable. And, other than that, we can just jump on into the summary. All right, so I'm actually going to have Chowder kind of lead the summary here, because he's the one who brought this topic to our sort of attention. And boy, am I glad he did. Spoilers for the rating section, but... Chowder, you want to... Yeah.
Carole and Tuesday is a 24-episode anime that was partially produced by Netflix. Originally aired on...
Was it a manga first?
No, it was actually anime first.
It would be kind of weird if it were a manga first, actually.
Yeah.
Because, part of the whole conceit.
Because of all the music? Yeah.
Right, so, originally on Fuji TV and then brought over to Netflix later on. It is directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, who you may know for Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, Hachiko no Michin. I cannot remember the other show he made. Yeah, and Carole and Tuesday takes place 50 years in the future.
Christ, is it only 50?
Yeah.
Huh.
In a lot of ways, it's a little bit optimistic.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
nothing wrong with that.
I don't understand why series that take place in the future are always like, this will happen in 20 years. And it's just like, no, the fuck it won't. Shut up. Just make it like 2 centuries and give it a fucking break. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
I mean, even 2 centuries is kind of generous for terraforming Mars. It turns out it's actually very impractical.
I mean, not to mention those advances in AI. Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it takes place on a terraformed Mars.
The best kind of Mars.
And we follow...
Sorry, continue.
I mean, Mars hasn't been terraformed.
Yeah, and it would be so much better if it were. No. We could have Martians. So you can continue.
Sounds, starting to sound real colonial of you there, Austin.
So we followed our 2 main characters, Carole and Tuesday, as the name of the show would imply. Tuesday is a lonely rich girl who ran away from home because she just did not feel like she had the freedom to pursue her dreams of becoming a musician. And Carole is a refugee from Earth who... I'm gonna just wait for that phone to stop ringing.
I guess so. While we're waiting for that, I do want to say, I mean, it is the fantasy, but it doesn't count as actual colonialism if it is an actually empty planet first, okay?
Yeah, no, I know. Empty as far as we know.
If only we found Martian mole people.
Then we could really colonialize those fuckers. So yeah, and Carole is a refugee from Earth, and they both aspire to be singer-songwriters, and by pure chance they meet each other and find a connection between each other, and so they form the group Carole and Tuesday. And the series mostly follows them on their journey of becoming musicians, singers. We see their various attempts to get noticed. They eventually sign up for a TV show,
American Idol type thing.
Yeah, American Idol type thing, and eventually, as they start releasing their first album, and eventually ending off on them doing a giant collaboration project that in order to speak out against a oppressive Martian government. And that is the basic gist of Carole and Tuesday. I recommended this show to you guys because this is the thing I like about doing this podcast. It gives me a chance to get people to watch something that I think is really good. But it'd be difficult to describe just what it is that makes it so good. Because, on the surface, I guess learning about Mars, but from the perspective of two singers, might be a bit of a hard sell. Well, but in doing so, it gives a very down-to-earth feel, no pun intended.
Down to Mars.
It gives a down-to-earth feel, and, the future that they've imagined is really interesting, because it feels like something that could happen, minus the terraforming of Mars. Because in this future, a lot of the jobs have been replaced with AI. At one point, Carole says that most jobs don't really have people working at it, and what jobs there are tend to be service jobs, where either you need the creativity of a person, you need someone to overlook the AI, or you just want a human face behind it, such as a waiter or a maid or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think is really interesting about the show, and the thing that I'm most intrigued about with it, is I like this sort of setup of having a sort of a somewhat innocuous story take place in a fantasy sci-fi world, and not really have it be overly about that. You know what I mean? Because it's about things that could be the show. You could just copy and paste parts from the script and just have it set today, and it would make total fucking sense, right? Minus a few details here and there. So it's kind of interesting to have it, sort of somewhat unnecessarily so, but I think in a good way, take place in the future on Mars, because I don't know, it allows them to throw in a couple of unexpected twists here and there, and make as a lot of good sci-fi does, sort of make comparisons and connections to things we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a vision of the future that involves some of the stuff that's going on with what's going on with us right now. Sometimes when I'm watching sci-fi, I'm just it's nice and all, but cyberpunk doesn't necessarily reflect the kind of world we live in now, or Star Wars doesn't necessarily kind of reflect the world we live in now, or Star Trek.
Yeah. I mean...
because Star Trek was originally made in the 60s, so it has the sensibilities of the 60s behind it, or Next Generation had the sensibilities of the fuck this phone.
I mean, yeah. Fuck this phone. Whose phone is it? Is that just the...
Mine.
That's the landline?
That is just the...
Oh,
That's landline.
that seems like a really good idea for like a week. Totally agreed with I guess both of you on that. I mean, that's what we do with sci-fi and fantasy, and we use it to talk about the world that we live in today. A lot of the time, anyway. And I don't know. I did find myself, even though this is an entirely different tone and completely different content, and actually, like, very little about it is the same, except that it is also set in the future. But the way that, like, I've only watched the first season, so I don't know exactly what happens in season 2. But from what you're telling me, I'm not gonna try. I'm trying not to spoil anything for people who haven't watched it yet, or like make any predictions. But from the way that it starts out, and from what you've alluded to, it has reminded me at times of this podcast that I like called Within the Wires, which is much darker, and which also something else that I like about Carole and Tuesday is just generally like, there's drama going on, but overall, the story of the main characters is just like constantly uplifting in some way, which is just relaxing at this time.
Yeah, it finds the striking balance where, on one hand, it is a warm and fuzzy, feel-good kind of show. On the other hand, shit does get kind of real.
And I mean...
Yeah. I like that, like, a lot of, especially in season 1, like, a lot of the sort of, like, plot-driving fucked up things that happen doesn't actually happen to them. It happens to their rival, you know? We're getting, like, a lot of, like, more in-depth story from her, and then meanwhile, Carole and Tuesday are just, like, kind of letting everything, like, roll off their shoulders, and then it makes it even more powerful whenever they have a moment that it gets more serious, too, because, like, you're used to seeing them kind of, like, happy and just kind of like going along with all the nonsense that's happening all the time.
Yeah, it's really cool though, just because like it's not super central to the plot, the stuff that is happening to Angela, because like she could just come in as a rival figure later, right? Angela, for anyone who hasn't seen it, being like the big rival for our good friends Carole and Tuesday to be in the singing competition. She was like a child star and what's it called? A model?
She was a model. Model turned singer,
because like the big competitors with Carole and Tuesday are all the sort of like up and coming artists, and like they're pitted against Angela. Like they're kind of two nobodies who no one's ever heard of, and Angela's like this person who's been famous for years who just recently decided to become a singer. So it's kind of interesting to see like that dichotomy where like they're both new, but Angela's much more experienced.
Yeah, and the other big dichotomy is that Angela and many other performers utilize AI in the creation of their music, while Carole and Tuesday can't afford that AI, and so they have to make their songs.
I mean, and it's not just that too. I mean, I think that this is very intentional that Carole and Tuesday are creating songs that they feel deeply about, where other people manufacture songs and manufacture their musical abilities in other ways as well.
Yeah, and it's really exemplified through Angela, because like our introduction to her being a singer, right, is that she goes and meets this guy named Tao, who is the best fucking character.
He's pretty damn good,
especially in season 2.
Yeah, especially
he's just like this emotionless, like, logic-driven guy, but his sole purpose is basically to, like, use AI to, like, algorithmically create the perfect music, right? So he's the one who kind of, like, writes or, like, quote-unquote, writes, like, produces all of Angela's songs for her, and then she just actually performs them.
Yeah, he's the one who owns the intellectual rights to the AI that he has created that makes all the music.
He is the classic anime smart guy, right down to the glasses that have way too much fucking glare on them. Yes.
Oh man.
No, I mean, I really fell in love with him in season 2, and we won't talk about that too much, but he's just a lot of fun.
I'm super into him as a character who exists, but like in the last couple episodes of season 1, he makes a decision that makes me like, oh, okay, no, this is a real character. I love what's going on here. When he admits to making a snap decision about a song that Angela has to sing for the competition. And it's like, oh, so there's a little more going on under the hood here, as it were.
Yeah, and like, you know, even like on the whole real music versus manufactured AI music, it doesn't actually make it black and white as in, oh, one is good, one's really bad. But rather understanding that it's a tool that is used. used.
Yeah, it
like,
sort of becomes like it becomes Carole and Tuesday's sort of uniqueness, but it doesn't like invalidate its use with the other performers necessarily.
Yeah, like a good example is with Angela, who there is a sort of artificiality to her songs, but at the same time, there is a reason her kind of music does get popular. Because it's really fucking catchy. Move Mountains is actually really fucking catchy.
And I think it would have been really easy for the series to just like cast her as this one-dimensional asshole who just like makes all this fake music that she doesn't write herself and is just popular because like that's just the popular music, and like kind of shit on pop in that way. But they make her a really interesting fleshed out character who's like at times is an asshole and at times you're kind of rooting for her.
Yeah.
So it's like I appreciate that sort of like well-roundedness to all of the characters that aren't just,
Yeah, and like the entire soundtrack is pretty good. Like everything is like I don't know. I don't think that all of the songs are like hits, and I'm not going to go look them up to listen to them, but like everything is at least kind of catchy. And it's pretty nice. Although, let me say, watching it in Japanese with subtitles, all of the music being in English was kind of weird because everyone's voice just gets completely different.
Oh, it's the same in the dubs.
That's
too.
Really, okay. Well, I guess
it's because all the music is performed by all the music is performed by actual performers, while the voice acting is
which
done
is
by
fair,
voice actors.
but it's just
I think
weird.
it's most notable with Tuesday, who's kind of got like the sort of classic anime like really really meek shy girl voice, and then when she starts singing it's just like, oh okay, you're like performing like a person with confidence. And then like immediately after that they'll have her like hiding behind somebody. It's just like, who are you trying to fool?
Well, I thought,
Tuesday?
to me, honestly, the more surprising one is Carole, because like her singing voice, I thought sounds way deeper and richer than her character voice does, at least in Japanese.
At least in I don't know. I watched the English version, so she sounded a little bit more spot on to me in English.
Yeah, I mean, to the show's defense, like I've definitely seen people who like do have like who do come off as very meek and shy, but then like once they start performing, it's like they lose themselves. Hell, even Jimi Hendrix is a lot like that, like in interviews. Like if you ever watch interviews with Jimi Hendrix,
he's like little kawaii anime Jimi Hendrix, and then you see him on stage and it's completely different.
Yes, exactly.
Kawaii anime Jimi Hendrix. But yeah, I don't know. I like Carole and Tuesday. It's really fun, and it kind of shuffles through a lot of different equally successful tones, I would say.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm watching the show, I'm like, oh, this is a nice kind of, like, feel-good anime, and then it has moments where it gets, like, really real, and then it has moments like the fucking Mermaid Sisters that are just, like, anime off-the-wall bonkers.
But just a hell of a song.
Fucking Mermaid Sisters
and really, that entire like last part of the season with the game with the music show in general, like I was laughing my ass off throughout that entire thing. Yeah. Like during the auditions too, with all the like
although
to weirdos.
be so, this is actually something this is. There are like a couple things that I just honestly did not enjoy that much about the series, and I thought that there were lots of funny things that were going on in the competition and in the tryouts for it, right? But like I also felt like this show was like, it was just, especially in the tryouts, like they were just super quick to have like the punch of the joke be like someone who is fat or someone who's gender non-conforming trying to do something, which was kind of weird.
Chowder and I talked about that a little bit too, is that like it had some typical sort of anime tropes and ideas that were a little bit trans exclusive. Like
Yeah.
Does Desmond show up in season 1 or season 2?
I don't think. Yeah.
Season 2. Desmond shows up in season 2.
But I mean, like the character.
Well, I mean, we can still discuss the character.
It's not a huge spoiler. Yeah. So there's this character named Desmond in series 2 who's like this legendary singer who's like left the music industry years ago and just lives in his secluded mansion or whatever. And Carole and Tuesday get an invite to go to his house,
Oh.
right, to meet him, which is like this big honor. And they go and meet him, and he's this really, really sweet guy, or person, rather. It was just getting into what I'm talking about. But, so they sort of present themselves as...
gender fluid, like, non-binary.
Yeah, gender fluid. But it's a little bit, like, sort of connected to this fatal disease that they have.
What?
Maybe?
Question
mark?
Yeah, so they're talking about this, like, this disease that they have that's, like, put them in a wheelchair, right? And then, like, mention how, like, like, over the years, their gender just went away. Like, they were born a man, but then they became more whole because, like, their gender came together, and which is, like, if they had just said it in that way on its own, it's like, okay, whatever, this person is trans, and that's totally fine. That's a cool way of presenting it, right? But it was sort of presented as, like, a byproduct of this disease that they have, and it was still, like, ultimately shown in, like, a, you know, like, a transcendent light, like, in sort of, like, a positive way, but it was a little bit, like, weirdly connected to the fatal disease, which was kind of not cool.
It's a little, like, I don't know. And, like, then we have...
Yeah, Dalia is, like, there's a whole thing going on there. I do want to know, in the English version... what does Tao use to threaten Dalia? Because
in the English version, he says, like,
you're androgynous. Like, something about her being androgynous.
He said that, like, the Martian environment has affected her hormones or something, and that's
odd. Yeah, so because in the Japanese, the translation in the subtitles was, they said hermaphrodite, and I was like, I was just reading this as a Dalia being trans, but, like, I guess now it's intersex and whatever. This is our...
Well,
they don't say hermaphrodite in the English dub. So,
yeah, they just talk about her being androgynous, but, like, and then in season 2, there is a photo of...
No, that's in season 1. This is something else that I wanted to talk about. Because, like, when they first bring this up and they say hermaphrodite, I'm like, okay, Dalia is intersex, and that's important to Martian politics somehow. Like, that's unacceptable. But also, Dalia's been arrested for assaulting people, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Is that just, like, a thing that they're going to leave alone? And then they didn't leave it alone, and it was like, we see the picture, which is apparently Dalia previously, assumedly under a different name, presenting as a man posing with Angela. And so it's like, oh, so we have one trans person in this show who is an abusive parent to a child star. Excellent.
And I don't know. I go back and forth on Dalia, because they, like... It seems like half the time they want to just accept her as a character who's kind of stern, and then the other half they're like, oh, she was, like, a huge negative influence on Angela's life. But, like, I think they kind of redeem her in the end, but yeah, it's a little rough to have the muddiest character.
I mean, I guess the idea is they want to depict her in a human light, not like a perfect angel or a evil demon, just a person. And like, you know, and those dicey depictions are kind of frustrating because there are times when the show really does well with those kinds of depictions. Like, we have Gus's ex-wife, who they have this really wonderful chemistry, and where it's like they still care about each other, but it's clear that, like, her sexuality was that she's a lesbian, and so like that's why the relationship didn't work out, and like we see a very positive depiction of, like,
I mean, it's also, it could be,
you know,
she could be bi or pan or whatever else you want to say, but, like, that is something that did surprise me after this stuff with, like, Dalia being introduced. It's like, oh, we just have positive representations of same-sex relationships. That's cool, I guess, but it makes the other stuff a little bit, like, more confusing to me, even though, like, I know that people separate the issues and stuff and don't apply the same standards.
Well, but the thing is, like...
wait, real quick. Fuck J.K. Rowling. I just want to get that out of the way.
But, like, I mean, as much as it's depicted kind of strangely with Desmond, it is depicted as, like, a very positive thing for
like,
the character.
He is... or
they.
They, yeah, you're right. I don't know how he how they identify.
Yeah, I think they use they in the episode with Desmond.
They depict Desmond as in a really positive light, as someone someone to be respected and admired. So,
yeah, cool.
Yeah, and it's like even the aspect of Desmond being transgender is depicted positively. It's just a little weird that they chose to depict it not just as positive, like a natural thing that happens positively, but as this like transcendent, unnatural, like, weird thing that happened to Desmond that makes them really unique to everyone else. It's like they're just are trans people, right? So like you didn't have to make it some like weird holy thing,
Yeah, and it's like it's not just that there are trans people; you've just shown them to us,
and it's just like it like though it depicts it,
they're just not rich.
Though it depicts it as positive, it still depicts it as other. Is the issue?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's two ways to alienate a person. It's by demonizing them or angelicizing them,
Yeah. And I don't want to make it sound like these are huge I think that like both depictions of Dalia and Desmond have both positive and negative attributes to them. The negative ones are just like a bit more it spoils it a little bit, but I think both characters, have interesting sort of like they're treated like people. They're not demonized or anything. Yeah. It's just like it sort of feels like a good, honest attempt from someone who still doesn't totally understand the situation.
Yeah,
is how it feels to me.
Yeah, it stands out only because the show really succeeds in having a diverse setting, both in cast and in just setting up the world of Mars. Because like Mars is a very multicultural place. It's got people from all different kinds of countries and cultures and religions and skin colors, and it is just depicted as a very normal thing, which is, I think, pretty unique in anime, because anime tends to be kind of homogenous, which is like a quality of Shinichiro Watanabe's works, where there is a sort of global aspect to.
I mean, I do think it's interesting how, correct me if I'm wrong, but every single one of the Earth refugees that we see is black, which is only 3 characters, I think, being Carole, her father, and Austin. Friend. I don't think they haven't met.
They haven't met yet in part 1.
But it's all right.
And Carole's friend, who ends up being a competing singer in season 2.
Yeah, but there are. I remember there being like background characters who are refugees and not black. So
yeah, no, I just think it's an interesting comparison because, when talking about refugees, it's interesting that they made the place that they're refugees from Earth. Right, because it's at the same time it's like giving this narrative of like we came from another country to be in America, right? So like how should we be shitting on other people who are trying to come from other countries to come here? And it's sort of like comparing that. It's just like now the other place they're coming from is the planet Earth, where we all definitely fucking live right now, right? So it's kind of showing this narrative of like all these snooty people living on Mars thinking of themselves as elite. And like how the refugees are like a problem, and it's just like this is sort of directly pointing us to think about how anti-refugee people in America, right? Like even though it's a Japanese anime, but it still has a lot of those.
Like Japan is running through similar problems with America, with like overly nationalistic, xenophobic people, and a problem with refugees, and a problem with embracing other people. So. I think it applies both to Japan and America.
And surprisingly, at least 2 other countries on Earth now. Go count them. It's going to be more than 2. I guarantee
applicable to several countries, Canada, the UK, France, just about every goddamn white country. Yeah,
there's a lot.
But this isn't a political show. It is totally not political. It has no applicability to our own world of the modern day. Like that political figure that's trying to keep the refugees out as a way to boost their popularity with the people. Never seen it in real life before. Complete fabrication.
That's like a fucking. season 2 had me really questioning exactly when it was written and how quickly, because like it is not like overly surprising, because like a lot of these things have been building up for a while, but it definitely felt like something that was written in the past like 3 weeks, which is it wasn't. But you know what I mean? Like
no,
it was this
show's been around for a
bit.
I mean, granted, the fact that like Tuesday's mom is clearly a dead ringer for Hillary Clinton probably brings it back a little, but no, everything in Carole and Tuesday feels super fucking relevant to right the fuck now.
Yeah.
From the refugee crisis to the xenophobia to the job loss to the
and
economic
especially
disparity.
And most notably, the song by the Mermaid Sisters feels the most relevant to me.
Look, man, if a bunch of gender-fluid people singing profanities in perfect harmony is not a fucking mood, I don't know what is.
If you're listening to this podcast right now, just just take a minute, pause, go on to YouTube, and just type in the Mermaid Sisters song from Carole and Tuesday, and you're welcome. Don't watch it near your grandmother. It's very good, and is now going to be my reaction to everything. Okay.
Yeah. Holy shit! What the fuck, man?
It's very good. All right. Well, I mean, that was a pretty good discussion. You guys want to shimmy on over to the ratings section?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we discussed it.
Hell yeah. All right. Thank you both for a very musical and uplifting discussion. Now we are going to be moving on to the rating section, where each of us are going to rate the topic on a scale from 1 to 10. All right, let's think about this. What should the scale be? I mean, my gut reaction was
AI freeloader scams.
That's good. My gut reaction was 1 to 10 Mermaid Sisters, but
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm content with that. I like the freeloader scam one. That was that. Like, I was talking to Chowder about this too. That I don't know if you've seen any of the most recent Pokemon anime, the Sun and Moon one.
Well, it's not the most recent one. Most recent,
not the most, yeah,
because like they moved on to.
Have they already?
Yeah,
they've already.
Yeah.
I knew they had announced it. I didn't know that they had gotten there yet, but it's not the same voice actor at all, but that little robot from that one episode gives off major Rotom Dex energy.
Yeah. And like they have like a neat little shout out to Space Standy in one of the episodes involving that AI scammer robot, because like he's like watching something on a iPhone-esque device, and like, you know, they're showing like a bit from Space Dandy in it. I don't know. I thought that was a cute reference.
Yeah, no, I mean, they have a lot of fun little cultural references that are even beyond shows made by the same people.
Yeah. All right, folks. How is 1 to 10 Mermaid Sisters? Chowder, hit me with your thoughts first.
Yeah. You know what? This show is really good. It's very uplifting and warm, but like at the same time, it also doesn't shy away from real issues. It is very relevant to our own day. It has got a unique setting that really takes advantage of both the sci-fi-esque nature and the slice of life kind of feel it was going for. So I'm gonna go out and say it gets 10 Mermaid Sisters out of 10.
Damn. All right. Perfect Mermaid Sister from Chowder. Austin, how you feeling?
Yeah. So I haven't had to rate things like a robot for a while. I don't know. I think so. When I think of my rating, I'm thinking of it as like my confidence in suggesting this piece of media to someone else, and it's definitely up there. I'm not sure if I want to say like an 8.5 or a 9, because like so much of it is so good, but also like on the off chance that like I don't want to say like that everyone I know would be like, yeah, this is my jam, you know?
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, like aside from the genre things, like maybe if you're some weirdo who thinks that slice of life type shit is not for you or whatever, you don't like music maybe, or you like music too much.
I mean, if you like music too much, this might be the show for you. It's just chock full of music references.
Well, no, but I mean, they might be too critical of the music to really enjoy it, is my concern there. But I don't know. More importantly, some of because some of the representation stuff with regards to gender and sexuality is really good, and some of it is just not, and that might be super jarring for someone. So I don't know. I can say 8.75. That's halfway in between.
I make it a 1 out of 10 scale instead of a 1 out of 5 scale, so that we're not doing any of this 0.5 shit, and then you hit me with a 0.75.
Just be like fucking bullshit. Fucking bullshit.
I think I don't know. I've landed probably in the 8 range. There are 2 main issues for me. I really liked the show. One, the sort of dicey stuff with the trans representation is a little bit unfortunate, I would say, for the otherwise very positive tone of the show. And then my other big thing is, man, I was so upset when I got to the last episode, not knowing it was the last episode, and then it was the last episode.
Oh my god, same.
I really wish the show was longer.
Happens.
And I'm not going to say which, because that would spoil that it didn't happen, but there was a big ship that I really wanted to happen, which is kind of rare for me in media. Usually I'm just like, whatever, I'll go with whatever they tell me. But there was 2 characters that I really wanted to get together, and they didn't do it, and it made me really sad. Anyway, yeah, so that seems like the general consensus. It's still, has a couple issues, but it's still pretty good, and I liked it a lot. But that's just going to wrap it up for us today, folks. Thank you for listening to the Common Geeking program. Again, I've been your host, Jeff Leavitt, and you can find me. I've got an Instagram called Things I Wish Existed, and there's a dot between each word. And I've been joined by Chowder and Austin. Do either of you have some stuff you'd like to toss out into the ether?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Taeemul Chowdhury.
I don't have that much to toss out. I mean, you can try to find me, and you'll probably succeed if you put more than 10 minutes into it, but it's not, I don't know.
Not making it that easy. All right, our next episode will be airing on the 3rd Friday in July, which is the 17th. Definitely what I said the first time. We'll have another common briefing program on the 1st Friday in July, which will be the 3rd. So tune in for that if you're interested. And thanks for listening, subscribing, sharing, everything else, and we'll talk to you next month.
Holy shit, what the fuck? The Common Geeking program is hosted by Jeff Leavitt, joined this episode by Taeemul Chowdhury and Austin Liebers. This episode is sponsored by face masks. Keep wearing them, please. The podcast is created and produced by Colin Ketchen and Jeff Leavitt, and features original music by Colin Ketchen. This episode was edited by me, Taeemul Chowdhury. We'd love for you to stay engaged with us on social media at Geeking Program, or by using #CGP. If you want to know more about us and all of our other projects, head to commongeekingprogram.com. Stay in touch, stay tuned, and as always, thank you for listening to this podcast. Ciao!